All right, let's get right into it. We're going to talk about the 5 biggest traps that are costing people points on their IELTS speaking test. I mean, if you're sick and tired of losing those easy points, then you've come to the right place. So, let's ask the big question. Why are you losing those easy points in your IELTS speaking test? It's super frustrating, I get it. And, it's so easy to fall into the trap of thinking, oh, it must be my grammar, or I just don't know enough big words. We spend so much time stressing about that stuff. But here's the secret. It's probably not for the reason you think. The things that are really killing your score, they're often way simpler. And honestly, they're a whole lot easier to fix than you'd ever guess. So I want you to try something. Let's reframe this whole thing. I want you to stop thinking of it as this scary, high-stakes exam. Instead, think of the test as a first date. Now, I know that sounds a little weird, but stick with me on this, because this one little shift in mindset is going to make everything else we talk about just click. And that brings us right to our very first trap. This is probably the most common one I see, and I call it the silent treatment. Okay, think about it. You're on that first date, and you ask them a question, and they just give you a one-word answer. The conversation just dies. It's so awkward, right? Well, it's the exact same thing in this test. If the examiner asks, do you work or study? And you just say, marketing, you've killed the conversation. The fix here is actually really simple. You've just got to extend your answers. Always, always aim for 2 or 3 sentences. And here's a super easy way to do that. It's called the ADE method. It's just a little acronym that's super easy to remember. First, you answer the question directly. Simple enough. Then you add a little bit of detail, and finally, you give an example or a reason why. Answer, detail, example. ADE. So you go from just marketing to something way more impressive, like I'm studying for a master's in marketing because big data is everywhere now. Do you see how much better that is? That's ADE right there. It's a real conversation, not just an interrogation. All right, moving on to trap number 2. This one is huge. I call it the rehearsed robot. Okay, let's go back to our first date. Imagine the person across from you is just reciting lines they memorized. It would be so weird, right? Totally unnatural. Well, guess what? The examiners are trained to spot this. If they think for a second that you're just reading a script from your memory, they'll just switch the topic on you, and poof, there goes your fluency score. The key here, the whole point, is to speak naturally and spontaneously. Okay, trap number 3. The thesaurus trap. This is a classic, especially for people who are trying just a little too hard to sound smart. What happens here is you try to cram your sentences full of these big, fancy words you looked up, hoping to impress the examiner. But the problem is, if you're not totally sure how to use them, it just sounds wrong. So what's the fix? It's simple. Just talk normally. Focus on clear, accurate communication. I'm going to say this again because it's so important. It is always better to use a simple word correctly than a fancy word incorrectly. Every single time. All right, let's talk about the next 2 traps together because they're really 2 sides of the same coin. I call them delivery fails. This isn't about what you say, but how you say it. And trust me, it can make or break your score. Okay, first up, filler words. Look, we all use them. It's natural, but there are bad fillers and good fillers. The bad ones are you know the ones. They make you sound like you don't know what you're talking about. But then there are good fillers. These are your secret weapons. Things like, that's an interesting question, or, well, to be honest. They sound totally natural, and they give you a precious second to think without sounding like you're stuck. And the other part of delivery is your voice itself. This is our 5th and final trap, speaking in a flat, boring, monotone voice. I mean, back to the date, right? If your date sounds like a robot, you're going to think they're bored out of their mind. It's the same here. It makes you really hard to follow. So you've got to use intonation. You let your voice go up and down. Stress the important words to show you're interested. It's exactly what you do in your own language. That's what brings your words to life. Okay, so those are the 5 big traps to avoid. But before we wrap up, I've got a little pro move for you, something that can actually turn a mistake into a point-scoring opportunity. And then we'll do a quick recap. This little trick is called self-correction. Here's what it is. You're talking, you realize you made a small mistake, maybe grammar, maybe the wrong word, and you just fix it right there on the spot without making a big deal out of it. And here's the crazy part. Instead of losing points, this actually shows the examiner that you're a really advanced speaker, that you're aware of the language you're using. So how do you pull this off? It's really just 3 easy steps. 1, you notice you made a mistake. 2, and this is the key, you don't panic. Just stay cool. And 3, you just smoothly correct it and keep right on talking. It shows so much confidence. It shows you're in control. Okay, so we've gone over a ton of stuff, but I want to boil it all down. If you only remember a few things from all this, I want it to be what comes next. It all comes down to one number. 3, just 3 things. These are the key takeaways that are going to give you the biggest bang for your buck. Number 1, extend your answers. Always give 2 or 3 sentences. Number 2, ditch the script. Don't memorize anything, just speak naturally. And number 3, use good fillers. Swap out those ums and ahs for something that makes you sound more fluent. And that's pretty much it. But look, knowing about these traps is just step 1. The real change, the real score increase comes when you actually start working on them. So the big question I have for you isn't just what did you learn, it's what are you going to do about it? So think about it. Which one of these traps are you going to tackle